Mika is a brand new Cryo 4-star who brings with him a buff that's relatively hard to come by, as well as provides really solid healing for your teams. Hi there, my name is Blossums, and today we're going to be going over our Mika build guide, how you're going to want to build him, the best artifacts, the best weapons, some different teams you might want to pair with him, etc, etc. So we've got a bit to cover. Let's go ahead and talk about his kit first. So first off, what does Mika do? Well, he's a cryo support character, and the main buff that he provides to your team is going to be his attack speed bonus buff. This is a relatively hard buff to come by. Not many characters can give attack speed increases. There's a couple in the game. I believe some are on weapons. I know one of them is Jean's C2 Constellation, where she can give an attack speed buff, but otherwise this is a pretty hard buff to come by, and he activates it quite easily. And how does he do that? Well, you activate his E skill and it deals cryo damage, and essentially this gives the entire party soul wind. When characters in the soul wind state are on the field, their attack speed will be increased, and this will take effect in different ways if tapped or held. So this does have a tap and hold function. The tap function fires a frost arrow that can pierce through opponents, dealing cryo damage to enemies it comes into contact with. So if you hit multiple opponents, there's going to be a bonus to that, so tapping it can do that for you. Or you can hold it, and the way this works is it's going to fire a Rhyme Star Flare at one person, dealing cryo damage, and then when the Rhyme Star Flare hits that person, it will rise before exploding, launching Rhyme Star shards into a maximum of 3 other opponents, dealing cryo damage. Generally speaking, the hold function is going to be the easiest to get the maximum amount of hits, which is going to be important when we go over it. And the damage scaling you can see here, it's nothing too crazy. In all honesty, Mika is not a character you're going to want to build for damage in any way. He's pretty much pure support, and he does it well. You're going to want to build into that attack speed increase as well as his healing. And the way he accomplishes his healing is all through his elemental burst. Whenever you use his elemental burst, he derives the ability to spur his teammates on from the recited prayers of the Knightly Order, regenerating HP for all nearby party members, which, keep in mind, that means even if they're off the field, they're going to be getting a heal. Those kind of heals are massive in my eyes. I always think those are fantastic and stronger than a lot of people give them the credit for. And this is based off of his max HP, and it grants them the Eagle Plume state, which is also awesome. The Eagle Plume state, when normal attacks of an active character affected by Eagle Plume hit an opponent, Mika will help them regenerate HP based on his max HP. Characters affected by this state can only regenerate HP in this way once per short interval of time. So this is pretty sweet. This allows you to not only get a burst of healing via the elemental burst, but then you can swap to whoever needs a little bit of additional healing, do a normal attack, and get additional healing on top of that. And as you see, that is all scaling off of his max HP, a relatively high scaling there on the initial cast, and some pretty solid healing on the Eagle Plume healing itself. Has an interval of 2.5, duration of 15 seconds, cooldown of 18 seconds, so pretty minimal downtime with an energy cost that is fairly reasonable at 70. Now let's go over the passives. This is where things get pretty important. So first up, we have Suppressive Barrage. Per the following circumstances, the soul wind state caused by Starfrost Swirl will grant characters the Detector effect, increasing their physical damage by 10% when they're on the field. So yeah, Mika can buff physical damage as well. And if the Flow Frost Arrow hits more than one opponent, each additional opponent will generate 1 Detector stack. So you can get stacks of that physical damage increase, which is really nice. And then same with the hold function. It'll generate a stack based on how many people it hits. So that's where the amount of hits actually comes in. It gives you a physical damage increase, which is pretty nice on top of the attack speed increase. So he's a phenomenal pairing with physical DPS characters, Eula especially, and as he can provide that physical damage bonus while giving an attack speed increase, which is really, really nice. And you can have a maximum of 3 detector stacks, so you only get a max of the 30% physical damage bonus there, just as a note. Now, the topographical mapping is the next passive here, and basically when an active character affected by both of the effects, the Eagle Plume and the Starfrost Swirl Soul Wind at once, scores a crit hit with their attacks, Soul Wind will grant them 1 stack of Detector from Suppressive Barrage. During a single instance of Soul Wind, 1 Detector stack can be gained in this manner. So essentially, what this says is if you have both the elemental skill state and the elemental burst state up at once, you can give yourself a stack of the detector state, which is the other passive here. meaning you can keep up that physical damage bonus, which is pretty nice. So Mika really provides easy access to its attack speed increases, which I think are extremely fun. Just going fast on normal attacks is a really fun way to play the game. And not only that, Mika is actually not that intrusive on any team. If you didn't want to pair him with a physical carry, that's okay. Honestly, the physical increase is really nice and obviously contributes to the team, but the attack speed increase is nice, and the amount of cryo element that Mika actually puts out is pretty minimal, so he's not really going to get in the way of any other kind of team that you want to put him on, making him a pretty malleable healer for a lot of different teams. And that's what I'm really enjoying about him. He doesn't invade on my other team compositions. I don't necessarily need to have the physical damage bonus contributing to the team. The attack speed is more than fun, and his healing is more than enough, and I'm really enjoying that. So how are we going to want to build him to best accomplish his supportive role that gives attack speed and heals? Well, as you saw, he scales a lot off of max HP, so HP is going to be very important. Also, energy is going to be very important because while 70 cost isn't too much, it is still something you're going to need to build into, considering there's a relatively long cooldown on his actual E skill of 15 seconds. So you're going to need as much energy as possible with basically one shot of the E skill and gobble up all of those orbs. Knowing that, we can talk about the artifacts. So first up, we need to talk about artifact sets that you want to go for with Mika. And essentially you have a lot of flexibility on this because a 4-piece set doesn't really fit him the best, in my opinion. There's no real 4-piece set that I think is really good on him or anything, so you can mix and match with a lot of 2-piece sets. But in terms of 4-piece sets, you do have at least a couple options. One that a lot of people are recommending is the Noblesse Oblige set, and he doesn't get any benefit from the elemental burst damage section there, because if you didn't notice, his elemental burst doesn't actually deal damage. So the real benefit of this is that it gives your teammates 20% of attack for 12 seconds, which is pretty nice. So he can buff the rest of the team that way. So I've been seeing people recommend that one, but honestly, I don't really think that's good. And the 4-piece Tenacity of the Millith doesn't really work that well for him because he can't constantly activate his E skill, so you would only get the buff for 3 seconds. But the 2-piece for the 20% HP is pretty nice. So realistically, the way you're going to want to build your Mika artifact-wise is just going to be the 2 pieces that you think are going to pad out your stats the most effectively. Some of the most important being things like the Emblem of Severed Fate 2-piece, or the Tenacity of the Millith 2-piece, or something like the Ocean Hue Clam 2-piece, or the Maiden's Beloved 2-piece, giving you that healing bonus, which I think is very valuable and something you should consider, because the healing bonus is a really nice addition to the good healing he already does already, adding a lot to it with a simple 15% healing bonus. But I'd say just go ahead and pad out your stats whatever you need. If you're lacking some energy recharge, get on some of that Emblem of Severed Fate, or maybe you need some more HP percent, then go ahead and put on that Tenacity of the Millith, as I think those will help you out the most, at least until we get a 4-piece that he can really utilize. Of course, you could use something like Ocean Hue Clam 4-piece to deal some damage that way via the healing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's quite solid. Something like the Maiden's Beloved 4-piece is also fine. That would increase his healing significantly if you want even more healing. Then those are both fine. I think those are pretty solid options as well for the 4-piece sets, but I think the value of just going 2 different 2-pieces is really good on him. So me personally, I'm doing something like the Ocean Hue Clam and the Emblem of Severed Fate set to just give me some more stats in the areas that I think are important. But what about the main stats? What main stats you want to go for on Mika? As I said, he's really not a damaging character. He doesn't contribute a lot of damage. First of all, his elemental burst doesn't deal damage, so really his only damage output is an elemental skill that has a 15-second cooldown, so it's just really not worth it to build him in for damage unless you just want to go full physical DPS Mika on the normal attacks or something. So for the main stats, I recommend energy recharge on the sands because you do want plenty of energy recharge on him, because remember that elemental skill does have a long cooldown, so having as much energy recharge as you possibly can to get that elemental burst off of cooldown is pretty important and very valuable to the team for the healing at least. And having an energy recharge sands really helps out with that. But if you find yourself having plenty of energy recharge, then go ahead and feel free to put in HP% sands here to contribute to that healing. But speaking of HP percent, I have it on the goblet. I think this is fine. You don't need cryo damage or anything. As I said, he's not really dealing that much damage. So HP on the goblet and energy recharge on the sands is quite nice. And then the circlet is where things get interesting if you are specifically going to be using the weapon Favonius Lance, which I highly recommend as it helps with his energy a ton. Then you'll probably want a crit rate circlet unless you just have insane crit rate substats or something. Otherwise, I would recommend a healing bonus circlet here, as that's going to help your healing significantly, or an HP percent circlet. Those are all fine here. And in fact, he's quite flexible on all of these. Energy recharge on the sands, and then HP here and HP here is a-okay to go, or, you know, healing bonus here, or crit rate here, depending on your weapon. So there's plenty of options to go for, as you're really just looking for as much energy recharge and as much HP percent as you can possibly find. And likewise in the substats, you're not really looking for any damage bonuses, just look for HP percent, even flat HP, crit rate for our Favonius users here, and things like energy recharge are of course phenomenal. So yeah, really realistically just crit rate, energy recharge, HP percent as much as possible on Mika, and call it a day. Likewise with the artifacts, the weapons are quite simple. As I said, I recommend the Favonius Lance heavily, especially if you have higher refinements. This not only gives him energy recharge, but it provides elemental particles for him, making getting that elemental burst off of cooldown very, very easy, and allowing him to heal your team as much as possible and provide as many buffs as possible. I think this is pretty much just the way to go, but it's not the only way. I mean, you could use the catch or something if you if that's your only energy recharge option. Plenty of energy recharge there. He doesn't really benefit from the bonuses though, and realistically speaking, any of your other energy recharge options can really help him out. Just to provide some more of that energy. As I said, you're not really going to be looking for damage, so like damage oriented spears aren't really going to help him out that much. And I would pretty much look exclusively at your energy recharge pole arms. Other than the HP percentage black tassel, I think that's also fine. If you're looking for more HP percentage, the black tassel could provide that for you, and I think that's a great option, especially if you think you have plenty of energy recharge already. But otherwise, I highly recommend Favonius Lance or any other energy recharge weapon you might have. Now, I want to talk about constellations, and I have my Mika at Constellation 4. I got very lucky while I was wishing for Shenhe and managed to get plenty of constellations on him, but I did all of my testing and building for him before I got any of the constellations, and I can say without a doubt he's a phenomenal character even without any of these constellations, but these do certainly provide a significant benefit for him. First of all, the C1 here, the Soulwind State of Starfrost Swirl, can decrease the healing interval between instances caused by Skyfeather Song, Eagle Plume State. This decreased percentage is equal to the attack speed increase provided by Soulwind. That's pretty nice. You get an increase in your healing intervals. The C2 is pretty nice when the Starfrost Swirl's Flow Frost Arrow first hits an opponent, or its Rhymestar Flare hits an opponent. One detector stacked from passive talent Suppressive Barrage will be generated. You must have unlocked that before it, so essentially just an easier way to get your detector stacks for that physical damage bonus, which is pretty nice. He's a good physical support as well as that attack speed support and a good healer. But then the C4 is probably one of my favorites just because it's the typical energy recharge Constellation 4. When Mika's own Skyfeather Song's Eagle Plume State heals party members, this will restore 3 energy to Mika. This form of energy restoration can occur 5 times during the Eagle Plume State, created by one use of Skyfeather Song. This makes it significantly easier to get his burst off of cooldown. It's nothing too crazy, of course, but any little bit contributes a lot, and when you put that on top of the Favonius Lance and having an energy recharge stands, you're in a really good position to be getting that elemental burst off of cooldown. And then finally, the C6 is definitely the most cracked because the maximum number of detector stacks that Starfrost Swirl Soulwind can gain is increased by 1. You need to have unlocked the passive talent, yeah, whatever. Additionally, active characters affected by Soulwind will deal 60% more physical crit damage. So if you have a C6 and you're pairing him with Eula, you're going to be dealing some ridiculous damage. He really starts to put out in the physical support department when you get that C6. It is no joke at all. And combined with his healing and everything, he's a phenomenal support carry whenever you have that C6. But as I said, don't feel, totally inclined to only put him with physical characters. That attack speed increase is really nice on a lot of other teams. So with this build, what does my Mika end up looking like? Well, first of all, I'd like to mention that I still have 2 level 16 artifacts, so this isn't the max capabilities of my Mika quite yet, but he's only going to get a little bump from those, and he's been plenty useful already. But he ends up at 28k HP, as well as 222 energy recharge, 67% crit rate, 15% healing bonus. So pretty nice overall, and that's pretty much all that matters. I would almost certainly try to get your energy recharge to that 200 to 220 range, as that helps a ton. If you have that C4, then you're going to be feeling really good, and I have no problems getting my elemental burst off of cooldown. From what I found, he generates a ton of particles from his elemental skill, and then when you combine that with the actual Favonius Lance, you're getting that elemental burst relatively easy. Especially if you have another cryo character on the team, that's going to be helping out a ton for the cryo particles. So what kind of teams is Mika really good in? Well, as I mentioned, him and Eula are absolutely insane together. Eula already does ridiculous physical damage, and enhancing that with a physical damage bonus even more is just incredible. Along with the attack speed increase, makes her normal attacks even faster, just directly increasing her DPS, making her even stronger, especially when you consider the way her elemental burst works and how it works off of dealing hits. The fact that she can do them faster means you can build those stacks faster. So these two are a match made in heaven. Of course, he also pairs really well with Razor, one of the other premier physical DPS characters. Razor already enhances his own attack speed via his elemental burst, but a little more isn't going to hurt, and a way to activate that superconduct certainly isn't going to hurt. But you might be looking at the team on screen and wondering what's going on here, and this is a team that I've been enjoying a ton, because this allows me to not only get the superconduct via Raiden, Shogun, and Eula usage, but I also can get some aggravate going on with Nahida, just activating you know, the classic Dendro and Cryo combination together, because they don't actually interact, and then Raiden comes in, she activates not only superconduct but quicken slash aggravate, so for some pretty fun team damage. I don't think this is like the most optimal or anything, but I do find it a ton of fun. And as I said, Mika is really good with a lot of the physical characters, but I wouldn't really be pressed to force yourself to use only physical characters with them. If you have a character that you enjoy normal attacking with in general, then just use them with Mika, because then you get to normal attack faster, and that is a ton of fun. And Mika, as I said, his cryo isn't that intrusive, so it's not going to interrupt what you're doing most of the time anyway, and his healing is rock solid as well. And I encourage you to get as wacky as you can with the attack speed increase, as it can be a ton of fun. You know, characters that already attack really fast, somebody like Yoimiya or something could be really fun. Or if you do like a physical DPS Fischl or something who already attacks fast, and if you put the bow, that increases her attack speed, and maybe you have like a C2 Gene and you can keep adding the attack speed, it can get pretty fun, and I encourage you to experiment with it. If you have a character you like normal attacking with, Mika could be pretty fun with them just for the attack speed increases. I always find that pretty fun, and I highly recommend it to everybody else. Of course, he's even better in physical DPS teams, but as I said, he's also fun with other characters just for that attack speed increase and his solid healing. So that'll be it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How are you building your Mika? Are you enjoying him? Have you gotten him yet? I've actually liked him way more than I thought I was going to. The Chocobo character here has been a blast, and the attack speed increase is awesome, and his healing is quite solid, and I look forward to using him in not only my physical teams, but maybe a couple other teams that I just want to attack fast in down the road. But as I said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the very next video. Have a good day. Peace.